Welcome into the Sports Objective, the unofficial podcast of the Pirates. You know, Bubba Rosenbaum, I'm not sure sometimes how the shows are going to work out tonight. I'm very confident this is going to be one of the best ones we've ever had, and certainly one of the funniest ones we've ever had. Two of the best coaches during the Skip Holtz era are here with us tonight on one show.
I agree, Dave. If the show's anything like the 15 minutes during the pre-show, it's going to be hilarious. I just hope that they remember to tell these stories. I've been sitting here making mental notes. I was like, I got to remind them to say these things live. But as you see on the bottom of the screen, viewers, Harold Robinson, of course, on the show just a couple weeks ago when we had Josh Smith and Nick Johnson on. And on the right side there, we have former strength and conditioning coach at East Carolina, now at Arkansas Tech. Welcome in Coach Mike Golden.
Welcome.
Glad to have you on. And Coach H-Rob, glad to have you back. One of our favorites,
Yep.
You know, Coach Golden, he was the athletic director and football coach at Williamston High, where I went to school, and his daughter went to school with me with classmates, and I've always thought a lot of Coach Robinson. He's the best.
Bless your heart, David. I tell you what, Mikey Golden was.
He's also a good liar. Dave's a good liar.
I will say this. No, David, you know Dr. Marshman.
Yes,
You know D. Marshman.
I do.
Did you not know D. Marshman?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
David.
Mike,
Yeah,
he saw to it that Mike Golden won $500 in the Ducks Unlimited show in Williamston. Am I lying, Mikey?
We were bidding, and he would not let me. He would not let anyone there outbid me on a thing that we had. Would not let anyone. He locked it down.
He would. He
Yeah.
did. He locked it down. Everybody in Williamston loved Mike Golden. I'm telling you.
And Harold, can I tell him the first time we went to Williamson?
Please do.
Don't tell him, Mike.
I have been torturing Harold every day, torturing Harold for weeks and months. And finally we had it. It was an off day. No players were in. And he came down to William. He said, listen, I'm tired of you always getting on me. He says, you're coming with me, and we're going to Williamson, and I'm going to show you. I said, okay. So we drive in. We get in front of the high school. This is complete. And he goes, see that? That's the town I built. That's Tiger Town. I built that field. I did this. And as he's talking, woo! Police pull him over. So I go, what the heck is going on? He looks at Harold. He goes, hey, coach. And I said, okay. He knows. He goes, hey, how you doing? He said, coach, you're not wearing your seatbelt. Harold goes, oh, yeah, I'll put it on. Well, that's too bad, but I got to give you a ticket. So Harold had to get a ticket from one of his former players, and he's trying to show me he's in Williamson. So that was not a good turnout. I will give him that. That was not a good start. But Harold,
That's where I live.
say this.
That wasn't.
I will say this, Harold. That day was ingrained in me, and there's not another place on earth that's Tiger Town. And we were running a camp one day. We had a bunch of recruits in. It was one of those recruiting days. I think I was here. I think it was here at Tech or wherever else I've been. And we were just talking to these recruits, and this kid goes, I don't know what school he was from. And he goes, yeah, we're the Tigers. I go, oh, that's great. And he said, yeah. He goes, Tiger Town, he said. I said, excuse me? He said, this weekend, we're at Tiger Town. I said, Tiger Town is Williamston, North Carolina, my friend. And for that, I want 100 up downs. This was a recruit we brought on, and I made him do 100 up downs for trying to take the title of Tiger Town, Harold. So in your name, that is sacred, and I'll give that to you.
Wow. Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, literally,
Mikey,
I think he got stuff and left. He was so mad we made him do it, but whatever. Can't disrespect Tiger Town, right, Harold?
Did he sign with the Pirates?
Oh, no, he was gone. It wasn't even out of East Carolina. It was here. He had no idea what I was talking about.
I thought you meant back in Greenville. I'm sorry.
Some school in Arkansas. He had no idea what I was talking about, but as soon as he said Tiger Town, I said, no, that's a special place. There's only one of them. Only one.
There is.
Yeah,
And a man
hey, David, ask Mikey about Diamond City. He would love to be the mayor of Diamond
I want to
City.
be the mayor of Diamond City. That was one of my goals in Eastern North Carolina. I want to be the mayor of Diamond City.
You can have it. You can definitely.
Whatever they got down there, day in and day out, it'll be great. Harold, this is the best you looked.
Mikey, I always look good.
Yeah, you look great right now. The best since I've seen
I'm doing a good job with my breath, Mikey.
Well, that's the only reason I agreed to come on, because I can't smell it.
Zoom.
Well, if this was an in-person interview, forget it.
Hey, Mikey.
Yeah, Coach Golden. Just a moment ago, before we started the show, Coach Golden, what was it you told Coach Robinson his breath
like
smelled
an inner
like?
tube, the air of the inside of an inner tube.
I tell you one thing. I tell you what I would love.
Job of that, Mikey.
I tell you what I would love. Let's have a
Tracy
reunion.
got me going to the dentist every 3 months, and I've taken care of that. And Mikey, let's tell them about the Hawaii Bowl.
Oh, nothing better, Harold. Nothing better.
Bubba, Mac, y'all have got to enjoy the trip we took to the Hawaii Bowl. God, good gracious sakes.
You got all those hula girls, right?
Can you imagine somebody from Eastern North Carolina going to Hawaii?
I mean, I literally had what my assistant.
I had to put up with Mikey.
My number one assistant at the time was he came with his wife, and I remember sitting there, and we went out on like some boat or something, some ride, and she was actually crying, and we were like, "Are you okay? Like, are you good?" And she says, like, I never thought as a kid growing up in North Carolina that I could be in Hawaii. Like, the whole thing was just the coolest thing ever for her. I mean, it was awesome to see our kids. To this day, if I had to name top 5 highlights of my career,
yep.
When we got to the hotel, I remember, because we went to the stadium and ran the kids to death right after we got off the plane. We wanted to set the tone. So we took the players to the field, ran them, and then went back to the hotel. And I'll never forget, my wife and I were in the room. We walked out on a balcony, and all our kids were on the balcony. It was right on the water. And just hearing the players, the awe and just like the unbelievable like feeling that they had, to this day was one of the top 5 things I've ever done in 30 years of coaching. I mean, just their excitement and their display was it was really, really cool. Really cool.
And to beat Boise State.
Before we go any deeper into any of your East Carolina stories, just talk about your path to Greenville and maybe a connection with Skip Holtz and how that came about.
Well, I was working at a high school, and again, I think that's why Harold and I have so much in common. We were I was a strength coach at a high school. We were very successful. And they recruited, when he was at UConn, they recruited our high school, and we had NFL players on our team. Like, we had Dwight Freeney, we had a kid, Andrew Pinnick, was a tailback in South Carolina and played for the Chargers. We were loaded. And it's funny, one time we had to work out, they had asbestos in the weight room. So I had the kids carry all the weights out. We had a little shed, and every day the kids would bring the weights out. We'd work out outside, and then they had to put them back in the shed. And one of the coaches from UConn saw that, and, we had talked and this and that. And then out of the blue, Skip called me and said, listen, I need to hire a strength coach. And so I went up and interviewed and luckily got the job there. And I worked with him there for a year. And then he left and went to South Carolina. And he said, Mike, my dad is obviously the head guy. If I could get you down there, I will. And little less than a year later, I think it was, he called me up and his dad interviewed me, hired me, and that's it. And that's how we got together. So that was pretty much our beginning journey.
What did you think? Was it culture shock for you to come to Greenville, North Carolina, being in Pitt County in Eastern North Carolina?
We were in South Carolina for a bunch of years, so not really. I loved it. I mean, honestly, to this day, if people ask me where I'm from, I tell them Eastern North Carolina, because that's where I feel like I was myself. Like, that's where I really came of age and really doing what I loved, and I was around just great people all the time, players, coaches, administrators. Like the whole thing was just, it was just really, really special.
And you
I
got
think
to
they
meet
were
H
more
Rob.
of a culture shock putting up with me than I was putting up with them. That I can tell you.
And Coach Golden, you got a chance to meet H Rob, right? So, I mean, the two of you all were paired together for life.
He met
We
H
all had our
Rob.
crosses to bear. So Harold was definitely mine. I mean, he got in trouble the first day with Coach Holtz.
He did?
We met one another. I don't know how we met one another, but Mikey and I fell in love with one another. We just like one another as brothers, and from there on out, he picked on me, and I tried to pick on him, but he got the best of me most of the time. And
99.99999999999.
It was. I see Steve Ballard, the chancellor, and Nancy Ballard walking every morning, and I bring up Mikey Golden's name, and he just beams with a big smile. He said, Coach Golden was the best, and he was. And he wanted me to tell you tonight, Mikey, that he gives you his best, and if you ever need to give him a call for a reference or anything, just give him a call.
Yeah, and I mean, and honestly, that is why we were so successful there. I mean, I'm a strength coach, okay? I'm not a coach. I'm not in the paper. I'm not on the news. Yet I could go to Chancellor Ballard's house and have lunch with him. Like it was Chancellor Ballard, Terry Holland, Skip Holtz.
Yeah.
And they all found a way to work together and to try to do the best for the kids. That's all we cared about, is what we could do for the kids. I mean, it was literally, I don't know how many places I've been, high schools, this, that, the other thing. But it was that era was the perfect storm, because not only the coaching staff was hungry, everything worked together. Like if I needed something, Terry Holland would find a way to get it. And everyone knew the hierarchy, everyone knew what they had to do, and everyone just did their. Mike Hanley, the trainer, like normally sometimes strength coaches and train, he was the best. Always working, we were always on the same page. So I think of all that, number one would make a team successful, and then the icing on the cake was our players, and we recruited Pirates. And that's why we won. The kids that we had in that era, we could jump on a ship and go take a town. I have no doubt about it. They were Pirates. We didn't have to try to say, oh, well, North Carolina got these guys, so we're going to try to get that. And we were like, no, we're going to get guys that are going to fit our mold. They knew we had to develop them. That was our job. We had to get kids, because we couldn't get the kids that were going to North Carolina or NC State. So we would get kids like Willie Smith. We found him in the middle of nowhere. And here he is, 6'7", 217 pounds, and leaves at 300-some pounds, plays in the NFL. C.J. Wilson was a 205-pound tailback when we got him, and he worked his butt off, left at 285. So we found the kids that were the right mold, and we had to develop them, but it was always a plan. Like everyone knew every day what we had to do for our job. I mean, as much as we joke around and everything, but I'll tell you one thing, and I've been around a ton of them. I have never seen a high school relations guy every single weekend. He would handwrite every high school coach in North Carolina about their game. Good try. Oh, you almost had him. Always positive words. And I've never been around that. But that's the way our staff was. Everybody just went above and beyond what it took to help these kids be successful. I mean, I remember Dakota Marshall broke his leg playing Virginia Tech. His senior year, he was done. And Coach Hud moved him into his house. And his wife and kids took him to class and helped him finish up his last semester, because he couldn't get around because of the crutches and all that, and helped him graduate. I mean, that's just what we did to help those kids out. And it was a trust both ways. Like we trusted those kids and they trusted us. So it was just a perfect storm and just everything came together for that really, really great period.
And Coach Golden, we've had Bubba. I was going to mention to you.
And Mikey, that's exactly.
Here, what are you doing?
Exactly what Steve Ballard told me the other day. It was the perfect storm, and now Coach Holland is suffering through dementia and things like that, and he doesn't even remember some of the things that happened. And but his wife Ann, she still cares for him and loves him, and that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, Bubba, I was going to say about the time that how many times we've had Coach Golden, we have a thing we do called 50 Pirates in 50 days where we do former players. And how many times, Bubba, have we had Holtz era players that have bragged about Mike Golden time after time after time? I'm so happy to have you on tonight so I can tell you that publicly. And how many great praise. I knew that personally being a coach, how great you were to me. And of course, H-Rob, I've known since like 1985, something like that. But there are many players that I know that probably at the time they didn't like you. They're lifted the weights, but they love you now.
Well, I'll tell you this. To this day, I've never asked a player, like even an NFL guy, for a ticket. And one of them, someone asked me why once, and they're like, hey, why don't you go see him play? And I said, you know what? That kid gave everything he could give. I can't ask for anything more. Like when they were there, they gave everything. I'll tell you right now, our Friday morning workouts were the most. There's not a team I've ever had that could make it through half of what those kids had to do. And I mean, it started from that first year, the non-travel redshirt kids, and they'll tell you, I remember the first year kids that we had, we at the end we used to give them diplomas when they were done. And the kids, I told them the first year, I said, guys, season's over. When you go home, you better enjoy Christmas because this is the last time we ain't going to a bowl. And I think in the history of East Carolina till now, there's never been a time they've gone to over three bowls straight in a row, and we did 5 with 2 championships. And those kids, what they did on those Fridays was just incredible. And I remember, and this is a crazy story, if I could tell it, but it is nuts. But they were intense, and probably the second week, we had like a kid miss, didn't show up. So I didn't say a word. We went through the whole workout, and then I had like 60 guys. And I said, okay, well, we've got one more thing to do. We're done. And these kids are like walking around. And I made them get in a circle around the giant pirate right outside the stadium. And we did up downs. We may have done, I couldn't even tell you. We just lost count at like 200. And we just kept going and going and going. And the whole time, me and my guys would tell them, like, you guys want to be a team, you got to look out for each other, you got to call each other, pick each other up. You can't let guys not show up. That's a disgrace. And we're drilling it the whole time into their heads. So the next 4 or 5, everything great, rolling, everyone's there on time. So about 6 weeks later, right before we start, I see this truck go flying by right underneath the stadium. We used to work out and park, and a couple kids are like, well, they're almost late, but they're not. So when we walked out there and blew the whistle, either you were there or weren't. So we get the kids, we start warming up, we go through the list, and we're missing a guy. And I'm like, all right, we're heading. They're like, coach. They said, look in the truck. I said, huh? So me and my guys walk over to the truck, and one of our players is out cold. He went out the night before and was hammered. He couldn't even get up. And I looked at them, and they said, Coach, you said if we're all here, we won't get punished. I said, I'm a man of my word. And that kid laid in the truck, and those kids worked out, and that was the end. I had to be honest with him. I said, hey, I'm a man of my word, and that was it. They threw him they went to his house, threw him in the truck, drove him there, and just left him there. And he was laying there lollygagging around, and the kid just Worked out. I said, you're right. And we never had an issue again. It was pretty, and that's the way those kids were. They were smart and crafty, but when it came time to work, it was on.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. That's why hey, Bubba, that's why we do this show. That's why we do this
Absolutely.
show. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. A story like that, he couldn't make that up. But no, Coach,
David,
a moment ago when you were talking about Coach
you
Hudson,
need to get, I can get you Jay Sunhalter and Mikey's number. And Jay Sunhalter, he loves Mikey Golden. He's one of the
nice segue.
One of all of them. But Jay and I talk about it all the time about how Mikey picked on him. But you know what? Jay has done so well for himself.
Yes, he has.
That it's incredible. And
Speaking
it's all because of Mike Golden.
Hey, H-Rob, it's you are one of the best in the business because that's a nice segue for Bubba, right, Bubba?
Yeah, Dave. Jay chiming in. Jay's tuned in right now. He said
he's watching you.
And he said, Coach Golden, Coach Robinson. And he said, two of the best coaches and people I've ever met. Learned so much from both.
What's up, guys? That's what he is. Yeah.
We learned from you, Jay. I remember when he broke his leg against NC State, and we carried him off the field, and Coach was like, well, I don't know, he's yours. And we took him under our wing, and we literally made up. There are things I do with injured players' ankles today that we did experimenting on Jay Sunhalter. That is a fact. Because we just made things up to try to get him back. And there are things that worked, some things didn't work. But honestly, there are things that I do today with players are things that we did experiment with Jay Sunhalter.
So Jay's a guinea pig?
Like whatever it takes. And I love him. I love him.
He's a guinea pig.
He was a good guinea pig. He was a good guinea pig.
Hey, we also have another one of the guys chiming in.
He was a good guinea pig.
You also have
what was your hair? Freddie! What's up, Fred? There he is. Big Fred.
Yeah, he loves Fred Hicks is on with us too, Coach Robinson. He came on there and said, we got two former players and two great coaches. I tell you what, Coach Golden, we were trying to save the best material for the show. So hopefully you can redeliver those great stories. Speaking of H-Rob, I'm hoping this time I can still breathe after you tell them the stories, but I understand if maybe the rumor has it that you stole his car. Is that true?
Yes, we had a coach's dinner right before camp. We went out and they gave us a huge spread. We were doing oysters and all that. It was awesome. And I was leaving. Me and a couple of guys were leaving. And we walked outside and I looked in Harold's car and his keys were in the car. And Harold wasn't out yet. So I threw the keys of my car to one of my guys and I said, listen, just follow me. I don't know where I'm going. So I jumped in his car, took off, and we literally found this friggin' warehouse in the middle of nowhere. I drove the car into the warehouse because it was abandoned, drove it there, I picked me up, and we just left. Next day we go to work, no Harold. Skip's sitting there waiting. We're at the staff meeting, 8 o'clock. Where's Harold? Gee, Coach, I don't know. Where's Harold? Finally, he calls, I can't find my car. I can't get to work. So they finally found it about 2 days later, sitting in that warehouse. Harold came back to work.
Hey, Mikey, tell him about the time you stole my clothes. I got his butt back.
Harold, he's so big time, used to get his clothes dry cleaned. So one day we followed him, found out where he went. So every few days, me or one of my guys would go to the place, say, oh, we're picking up for Coach Robinson. Okay, no problem, here. And we had literally a locker it was actually an old shower in the weight room. And by the time Harold, one day we went in the staff room and he's complaining, I hear him on the phone yelling at the lady, like, what have you done to my clothes? These are the last two clothes I have. We had literally at least 3 feet of clothes on hangers of Harold still in the plastic from dry clean. And he had no clothes like the ones he was wearing. And he's yelling at the lady, and she's yelling back at him. So finally, we had to give him his clothes back. But we were still, I mean, every couple of days, picking up for Coach Robinson, picking up for Coach Robinson.
Let me get that story straight. I called up the dry cleaners. Finally, after I realized, I said, "Do 2 guys come in dressed all in black and get my clothes out?" "Yes, sir, Mr. Robinson, they do." And I said, "I'll be damned, man. It's Mikey Golden. He's stealing my clothes." So I called Mike's office over in the weight room. I said, "Mikey, you got my but before you lie about it, do you have my clothes?" "Oh, no, I don't have your clothes." I said, "Well, I'm gonna call the law and get the campus police in here and have you arrested, Mike, if you don't come up with them." Lo and behold, the next 5-10 minutes, my clothes were sitting in my office. I'll never forget that. The only time I got him back,
but I can tell you what we did after that.
Back.
So
God knows we've had some good times. We have fallen in a mill pond together.
Yes, sir. Yes, we
had.
had.
On our hands and knees together to shoot Mikey Golden fell in Lake Mattamuskeet, shoot a swan, and he couldn't get himself out. He did, and Mikey, tell him that's true.
That mud had me, man. I couldn't go anywhere. That stuff stunk up to my, you know what, and I could not move. My legs were stuck in that mud. I literally had to get out of my waders to get onto the shore. And I saw this little kid. I saw this little 12-year-old kid. He goes, "Listen, I'll give you $5 if you swim out there and grab that fly." He said, "Okay." He gave him $5. He swam out and brought it back in. But we got Harold with his clothes. We said, "Okay, Harold." I figured we got him. So the next day, Harold would always leave his keys in his door to his office. So I told my guys, I said, if you're ever up there, you see his keys in there and he's not there, grab him and bring him down. So my guy grabs him. Harold's not there, comes down.
He did.
So Harold calls screaming. He's asking everybody in the office, no one was up here. We don't know anything. He calls me. I've never heard Harold so mad in my life. "I'm coming down there. Rah, 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 rah." I say, "Hey, you come and do whatever you want. You come check. Keys are sitting right in front of me." The minute he hung up, I gave the keys to one of my guys. I said, "Listen, watch Harold. The minute he comes in the front door, run up the back door and go put his keys on his chair in his office." So Harold comes in screaming and yelling, "Open my door." Finally, I'm like, "Harold, get out of here. Get out. Get out."
Everything he's telling you.
He storms out. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, "Mikey, I'm sorry. I found my keys here on my chair." I go, "Next slide, Harold." Hung up the phone. That was it. And then, Harold, what about Maddox when we dressed him in your clothes?
Mikey's done everything.
Everything. We had a game we played. We beat Memphis at Memphis.
He done everything.
And Harold won pursuit on the road. And so we get done with the game. We're celebrating, having a good time. So I took one of the players. I said, "Listen," I said, "put on Coach Robinson's suit, the whole thing." He said, "Okay, Coach." So he put on Harold's suit. He walked over and talked to Harold for 10 minutes, saying, "Oh, great game, Coach. That was awesome." 10 minutes. And Harold didn't know it was his suit on the kid. Number one, why is the kid wearing a suit after a game? Literally. And he sat there for 10 minutes. And Harold, no clue that was a suit until he went in his locker and it was empty. And I said, "Harold, it's right there on Maddox." Maddox was wearing it. That was classic.
I told you guys, I don't oversell a show. I told you this was going to be a great show here on the Sports Objective. Oh my goodness.
Classic. And in Hawaii, Harold, it was me.
We've had some good times.
Crumpler, who was our team. He was our team police officer. Was Officer Crumpler. And I think he's a sergeant now or something. He's a big time now in the state police. And Harold and me and my wife. And there's a place called Duke's on the water. And one night, Harold had a few too many Mai Tais out there in Hawaii. And we were walking back to the hotel. And Harold looked in his store and he said, "Oh, that's kind of nice." I don't know what it was. I'm like, "Harold, what are you talking about?" He stumbled into the store and knocked over this display that must have had 100 things on it. I mean, took it out. So this lady starts screaming. So me and Crumpler run in. We grab Harold. I give Harold to my wife. And she had to walk him back to the hotel while me and Crumpler had to clean up. And we're like, we're sorry. I had to clean up the whole thing and leave. Harold, he took out the whole thing. Classic. I love it.
We had some good times at Duke. I've got 2 shirts now with Duke Hawaii. Mikey, we got to go. We got to take Trey and Nicole back to Hawaii. We got to go back.
I'm in, Harold. You want to pay for it? I'm good. We just got to win. That was the best thing about the Hawaii Bowl was our 10-year anniversary. I got out of that one.
All these Hawaiian shirts.
It was the best. I got a free 10-year anniversary out of it, so it was a great trip for me.
You can imagine the big guy. He had all those Hawaiian shirts on, and he would buy it. The last day we were there, they had a flea market, and Mike goes through and buys suitcases, and you can barter. And Mike ends up buying 4 or 5 good-looking shirts. Just hang outside of your clothes and all, Hawaii shirts and all. And he said, "Hey, Rob, you got to come get you something." No, I'm not gonna get those, Mike. I ain't gonna put them in my shirt tail and my pants and all that kind of stuff. But we had the best. It didn't matter whether we were in Hawaii or whether we were in Washington D.C. and it was snowing up to our knees. We would sit up in the press box doing practices and just have a good time. We had a good time.
When we did Monday Night Football, Harold, remember at the Military Bowl at practice?
Yeah.
We were having practice and it was snow. I mean, it was just a mess. It was snowing crazy. And me and my crew and Harold, we were in the press box just watching practice because by then they were doing their thing. And we found the PA system with a microphone. So we were doing Monday Night Football. One of our kids would be like, "Hey, Chris Johnson with the run." Like, running 10 yards, 15 yards on the defense over the loudspeaker during practice. Coaches were so mad. They were so mad. Only Coach Ruff laughed about it. He had the overlay. He let us keep going. Coach Ruff was like, "They do what they're doing. That's it. Let them go." That was it. We had a freaking ball in the snow that day for sure.
Coach Golden, and maybe Coach H-Rob, can you talk about we've heard stories from members of the media that told us that the Coach Holtz staff was the best at partying of any other coaching staff. Is that true?
That's true. That is a true story.
I can't say that. I don't know.
I will say this. We were a lot like our players. We worked hard and played hard. That I could say. It was everything was obviously controlled, but they were we had a good time for sure. It was just a good time. Because we had to release it.
We worked hard and we played hard.
We did. We put so much pressure on ourselves that we had to, just had to hang out every night after a game. We go to coach's house or whatever just to blow off steam and just be that's all you get. In college football, you get the night. So if you win, it's the best thing in the world for a couple hours and you're right back at it the next day. So that's all you get anymore is that one night where you don't got to look at film and this and that. And so it was, but it was great. All our wives were great. I mean, they all got along. So we really, really had a special group for sure.
Yeah. He said, what about Coach? You actually, H-Rob, you actually had with John Thompson, Skip Holtz, and Ruffin McNeil. So are you saying that you didn't think the Skip Holtz era was the best coaching staff as far as partying is concerned, or do you think it's Thompson or McNeil's staff? Or all three, I guess, for you, right?
Yeah, I'd have to say Skip was all business, and it was more business-like, yet it was family-like. And then Ruff added the family-like. It was more of a family atmosphere, David, and it was more of a family atmosphere. But with Skip, I have to say, we met every morning at 8:00 every morning. And then, but he ran it like a business. And, really and truly big time college football, that's the way you got to run.
Agreed.
You got
And he
to
ran it like a business, but he let everyone do their job. And I think that's where a lot of coaches mess up. They run it like a business, but then they're in your affair 24/7. But with Coach Holtz, if he hired you, he trusted you, and you just did your job, and that was it. And you did your job the best you could, you would never have an issue. And that's one thing I'll say about that staff, that everyone did really could not do a better job than we did. I mean, honestly, could not do a better job than they did.
Coach, I remember, Coach Golden, I remember after the PapaJohns.com Bowl, I talked to you and I was asking you about that. Why did we lose that game? And you said you felt like they were just happy that those players, I'll never forget it. You said, David, I really feel like they were just happy to be there.
Yep.
And then after that, man, it started winning.
For years, you do nothing to lose for years, and then you get some wins and you get something like that. I mean, just getting there is an accomplishment, and you don't want to, you can't ruin the moment because the kids worked hard. And you go from whatever it was, 2 wins to 3 years, whatever it was, before we got there. And, in a year and a half's time, you're at a bowl game. I mean, they're just happy to be there, and those kids had done so much, had been through so much that it wouldn't have mattered if it was a national championship. Those kids, from what they were at to what they got to in that first bowl, was they've been through the ringer, and that was their reward. And you know what? I couldn't be happier for them. They had to scratch and claw to get themselves there, and they did that. And from guys that were used to losing to get a taste of winning, that you're doing your job as a coach, as a staff, as whatever. You're doing your job, and then it's your job to start building on that, and that's what we had to do. But those guys all laid the foundation because they never spit the bit. They tried and just kept getting better and they got to that point.
And Coach, that was that to me being
Mikey,
there personally. Bubba, you were there.
Kevin Turco? You remember Turco trying to get in the game that night?
He didn't have a ticket, Harold. We had to throw him out.
John's Bowl.
He didn't have a ticket. We had to throw him out.
That was by far the worst venue I've ever been to.
I remember we played them once. It was a Thursday night game, which I don't know why. And we counted 153 people in the stands, including security. Literally, me and my guys all took a section, and we were just counting. It was hard. A hard place to play. It was hard because it was like you just had to get yourself up.
So I remember, Coach, we thought that there would be pizza there. It's a Papa John's Bowl, or .com, whatever. We go there, and my buddy and I, we were going to tailgate. We said, no, we'll get some pizza. We get there, and it was such a bad neighborhood. And don't get me wrong, I love Birmingham. It was a very nice city. Great place to have a good time. But going there, they said, "Are you kidding me?" When the local people were talking to, there's like, it's such a bad neighborhood. Even the daytime, they won't deliver pizzas. That's why I was like, so you have no pizzas? They're like, no pizzas. And then I remember there was a guy, literally, they had all the fans on both sides, both fan bases on one side for TV. So we had to walk by the USF fans, the Bulls, and I walked by the USF section, and there's a guy with a card table selling liquor. I was like, only in Birmingham.
I don't doubt it. We didn't get a slice of pizza. I thought the same thing. Oh, we're going to get pizzas every night. This will be great. Nothing. Not one slice did we get from that bowl.
And I love Birmingham. I really had a great time there. Birmingham was cool. It was just that state. And now apparently, Coach, they're building, both of y'all, I don't know if y'all know, they're building stadium for UAB. So I'm happy for them because they're a great program now. And but Coach Clark has done a great job there.
Yes,
but man, that was some rough times playing. I remember like November '99, we played them and lost a game we shouldn't have lost. And there's times when there's nobody, like you pointed out, Coach, there's nobody there. And now when they took the program away, all of a sudden they have fans now.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's I guess sometimes you got to do it. I mean, sometimes you got to do it. I mean, we were blessed there. And once we got going, I mean, that Dowdy Figlin was rolling. I mean, that just the way it was. I mean, I remember our first game against Duke. I think it was a sellout. I mean, and that was a hot day too, boy.
Oh,
that
yeah.
day was blazing. And I remember, I mean, there was a million people there. I'm like, wow, this is it right here. This is great. And they just kept coming. Just kept coming. So it was a great situation for sure.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about the different bowl game venues. You touched on Hawaii when we talked about Birmingham. That was the inaugural game in Birmingham, and then kind of the same type deal. Your final season in 2010 under Coach Ruff up in D.C. You referenced it a few minutes ago as far as the Military Bowl. That was, I believe, like the first or second year of that game, and you could certainly tell. But in 2008, 2009, or technically, I guess the first couple of days of 2010, but those back-to-back Liberty Bowls, you could tell the Liberty Bowl, it was an established bowl game the way it was run with the events and everything going on.
Right. But I didn't, I remember the day of the game, the first Liberty Bowl, and the guy who ran, I don't remember his name, but the guy who was in charge of it, he came over and he was talking to us before the game, and he's like, so what do you guys think? And then I said, let me ask you a question. I said, the number 2 team is on a beach in St. Petersburg. The number 3 team is in Hawaii. We won our division, and we're all sitting here in jackets. I go, does that sound right to you? And the guy's like, well, history. And I go, yeah, I understand that. But those guys are on the beach, and we're here freezing to death. I said, maybe you should change it to the winter goes someplace a little bit more weather friendly than here, for sure.
So the winner should go to Hawaii, right?
Winner should go to Hawaii, or at least to Florida. For sure.
Following up as far as his point about the weather, we were talking about that pre-show on that Arkansas game the second year. Like you said, it's one of the coldest, if not the coldest, East Carolina football game I've ever been to. But the previous year against Kentucky, for Memphis, that was far and away the best weather I've had out of my 4 trips to watch the Pirates in the Liberty Bowl going back to the mid-'90s. That year against Kentucky, I want to say it was at least mid-'60s, maybe.
Yeah, that year was much better for sure. That year was much better. I guess anything would have been better. Antarctica would have been better than the Arkansas game. I'd rather be
Coach,
than that win, boy. Woo!
Hey, Coach, we haven't been to a bowl so long here in recent years. We'll take anything right now, my friend.
That's how it is. You got to work your way to get there. That's all. That's what it is.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on? Do you know Mike Houston? What are your thoughts on Coach Houston? And so maybe you have some of the guys on the staff before.
I know some of the guys on the staff. I mean, if Steve Shankweiler if he doesn't have a wooden leg, no one does. I mean, he's a Pirate from forever. I mean, he's the classic Pirate coach. I mean, he's been there through it all, and he's won a lot of games with the Pirates, no matter who he's coached with. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really know a lot about Coach Houston, but I think he's a better fit in terms of the toughness factor, I think. I think his kids played hard where he was, and he's just got to get that going here. But I think that's going to be very helpful, because I think those are just you got to know your players, you got to know where you're at, and that's what you got to recruit to. That's the attitude you got to have. I mean, you just got to be able to go and say, hey, these are the kind of guys we can get. These are the guys we're gonna get. These are the guys we're gonna play with, and just turn it into your program. But for the players that you can get there consistently, you got to have those tough guys who go out there and just anywhere, anytime. And like Coach Ruff used to say, you want some? Come get some. Like, let's go. Like, we ain't backing down for anybody.
You talk about Coach Shank, and Coach Shank, like you said, I mean, he's a Pirate through and through. You could tell it even when he was at other institutions, and just the way he spoke. He certainly bleeds purple and gold. But another guy that you spent 6 years with, the entire Holtz era, and then also that first year under Ruff, Donnie Kirkpatrick. And Donnie's hilarious. I love listening to interviews with Coach K. So talk a little about Donnie.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, he was just he was he was just a recruiting maniac. I mean, he knew everybody in North Carolina, and he just worked. I mean, on the staff, we had a lot of yin and yang guys. We had, and again, that's another thing. When you put a staff together, that's what you want to do. You got guys who are complete lunatics and guys on the other side of that. And the thing is, though, is that way every kid's personality is covered. So when we were in the weight room, I was on one end of the spectrum, and we had guys on the other end, and we had guys in the middle. So if I had a kid who my coaching style wasn't his thing, he'd go to a guy. We would just give him one of our coaches that was his thing, that could reach him and do it. So I could coach my way. That guy could coach his way, but he was reaching those players. I was reaching the players that, that I could coach, and the other guys were reaching them. So, and that's how Skip's staff was. So it was the same kind of thing. Some guys were just complete lunatics, and other guys, all right, well, we're going to be over here. For those kids that don't want that, I'm going to be over here and balance things out. So it was a really good staff in the way of the yin and yang, I guess, as you could say, or whatever you want to call it. And we literally modeled the weight room after that, so we can have that and be able to reach all the players. And that way you just get the best out of kids instead of wasting your time trying to mold them into you. Like if your task is to move this thing 50 yards, and I got to get you to move 50 yards, and I might have you push it. And another one of my guys might say, well, you can pick it up, put it on your shoulder, and get it there. Either way, it got there, but we don't have to waste time trying for me to scream at a kid to push it or do whatever when there's another way and another guy that could reach him that way. So that's kind of what how Skip's staff was, and that's kind of what we modeled it after them.
Coach, I want to follow up with you is when you mentioned the word lunatic, I have to admit, the first person I thought of was Coach Hudson. Was Hud the lunatic you were talking about?
Wow.
Yes. And Coach Rock was another step even above him. Hud was next, but Coach Rock was on a different planet. He was oh my God, he was so awesome.
Rock was the most intense. He was the most intense person I've ever met. Ever been around.
Ever been around. He was just so intense. And Hud's biggest strength is he knew how to push buttons. He knew how to get coaches in play. He just had that, whatever you want to call it, that coolness or whatever it was. I mean, I remember one time a kid was messing up, and I'll never forget this. I was in Hud's office. We were doing some kind of scheduling or something. And Coach Rock was in the office right next to Hud. And this kid was messing around academically. And Rock was annihilating him. I mean, he was screaming so bad, like coaches are shutting their doors. Like secretaries were lliterally on the other side of the office, like literally in tears. Like, because Rock was having none of it. And Rock's screaming at him, and Hud looks at me, he goes, watch this. And he pulls out his phone and he texts Rock. So he shows me the phone, and he said, the kid's name was Antonio, and he said, he texts Rock, Antonio thinks you're soft. Texted him. While he's screaming, he's killing the kid. And all of a sudden you hear Rock pause, and there's silence, and then you hear the cell phone just smash against the desk, and he took it nuclear. I mean, I thought the kid, I'll tell you what, though, that kid never had an academic problem again, ever. I think he might have made the dean's list after that. But Hud was, and I remember my favorite story about Hud was
Hud.
The biggest game.
Hud took a cut in salary.
Jump in there.
To get Rock Rogerman there.
Yes. And he did. Thank you, Harold. Oh. But my favorite Hud story.
Rogie was the best.
He was the best. God rest his soul. He was the best. But when you get that feeling when you got a team that's like, okay, I think this is it. And it was a year that we opened with Virginia Tech. And that summer, our kids at that point, all the work they put in, it was time. Like our kids were, we couldn't have had a better group of kids, they were in shape, they were strong. They killed themselves all summer. And I think it was 2 weeks before camp, and I'll never forget, we're sitting there running the kids on the field, and we hear, and Hud comes flying up on his Harley, drives right onto the middle of the field, the turf field on the practice field. Kids are on one side, strength coaches are on the other. I mean, kids are just sweating, jacked, breaking shirts off, ready to go. And Hud pulls up, he gets off his bike, and he looks over and he goes, you know what? I almost feel sorry for Tech. And he gets back on his bike and just drives off. And the kids are like, just went ballistic. But he just had that way about him that could just that one little punch, and that was it. I mean, even in the second championship game, everybody was freaking out about Case Keenum, and he's doing this and setting all these records. And everyone's all nervous playing, And Hud walks in, he goes, listen. He goes, everybody just relax. He goes, you four up front, get to him. He goes, if a guy's running a ball on your way to the quarterback, tackle him. If not, get him. The rest of you guys, he said, I don't care how many balls they catch. Everyone they catch, make them pay. He goes, that's our game plan. Everybody get it? And they're like, yes, sir. And that was it. And you look on the tape by the middle of that third quarter, their receivers are running out of bounds trying to get out of the thing. I mean, that's just the way it was. He just broke it down to them so simple and just had it figured out that the kids are like, all right, here we go. And they would put kids where they could be the most successful. And that is an art. I don't care what other coaches there are out there. That is an art to find the right spot for the right kid at the right time. I mean, there's not another Division I program that Nick Johnson or Quentin Cotton could have played in. I mean, he had the body of an 85-year-old man, but he had unbelievable football instincts. He knew what to do, how to line guys up, and that's why he could play for us. I mean, that's just those were the kind of guys we had. Those were the kind of guys we had.
Funny you mentioned Quentin Cotton. We just had a 50 Pirates and 50 Days that Bubba did. I think it was yesterday or the day before, and we'd had him on, right, Bubba?
Yeah, yesterday. I was going to bring that up earlier, Dave. Now, Coach Golden, which player did he say lived at Hud's house? Because Quentin was actually referencing what Coach Hud and Coach Hud's wife did as far as him being there. Okay, Dakota Marshall. I didn't think it was Quentin but Quentin had that injury in 2008, as you know. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Quentin said Coach Hud and his wife brought a turkey over when he was spending Thanksgiving in Greenville.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, that's how they were. I mean, that's just how that coaching staff was. The kids trusted them, and that's why they played hard. I mean, that's just what they did. I mean, I remember might have been the second or the first year championship. And I remember when Linville and them cats walked in, I'll never forget, Harold, remember we had that staff meeting, and they knock on the door, and they walked in, and we're like, what's up, guys? Like, everything all right? And they're like, Coach, I need to ask you a question. And we're all sitting there like, what happened? We thought somebody got an accident or something crazy. And they're like, Coach, have we ever been out hit or out effort on a Saturday? And Skip said, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, no. He said, you guys give everything you got every Saturday. And they're like, all right, Coach, we want to make a deal with you. We're not into this full pads on Tuesdays, so we just want to go shells. And if you let us do it for a week, if we get out hit or we don't play hard, we'll wear full gear every single day and never complain. And Skip was like, deal. And that year, we went shells on Tuesdays instead of full pads because that's how much trust that we had in each other. Number one, that they could bring it up to us. And number two, that coach trusted them so much to be able to do that. So, again, that was a big special thing to be able to do.
Those examples you provided just a moment ago with Coach Hudson, those are examples of what you were saying earlier as far as knowing how to press the buttons and doing the things that he knew would either motivate guys or provide that sense of calm and say, hey, we put the work in. Yeah, Virginia Tech's an excellent football team, respect them, but there's certainly no need to fear them because we have a tremendous football team ourselves and we're going to take care of business.
And I agree wholeheartedly. And that was, that trust factor in those kids that we had, and I could name a million of them, It was the most, and to me, that Virginia Tech game was the greatest game of my career. We can talk about championships, we can talk about this, that, and the other thing, but that game, number one, because we respected that program so much. Strength coaches there were very respected. I had one of their ex-players, one of my strength coaches. But the respect we had, and we kind of modeled ourselves as Virginia Tech, the way they started and built it. That was kind of our thing in the weight room, how we wanted to come about. But, just to mention the kids, and I'll tell you another nutty story, even though you're probably sick of these stories, but one of my favorite players of all time was the kid TJ Lee, was a receiver. And, I think was the biggest play in Pirate football history when he blocked the punt and took it in. Well, he wasn't even supposed to be out there. And he had false started like 2 times in the first half, and coach benched him. And the whole game and the whole halftime, he's like, Coach, you got to get me back in. I'm like, I'm not a coach, man. I'm trying to keep you guys off. And he kept bothering me like, Coach, I got to get in there. Coach, I got to get in there. Coach, I got to get in there. I got to make up for my mistake. And I'm like, dude, there's nothing I can do, man. The boss says you're out, you're out. Like, we can't have penalties. We can't. This game is too tight. And then all of a sudden they go out there, and the kid that's out there is coming off the field. And we're like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I don't know. TJ told me to come out. I'm like, what? And, in the middle of it, that was so intense, that moment. Like, the crowd, everything was just, holy cow. And all of a sudden, they snapped that ball, and you just heard that doof. And next thing I know, I see TJ Lee grab that ball and score. But those kind of guys, they felt bad that they got a penalty and let the team down, so they had to get back in there to get it done. You name me another team who won 2 back-to-back championships with an interception from Van Eskridge. 2 years, back-to-back. He did it at Tulsa, and he did it home against Houston. Whacked the guy, caught it, bang, game over. Whacked the guy, caught it, boom, game over. Those kind of things, you don't get that unless there's that trust and hard work and commitment from the players. You just don't get it. You don't get it. But that's never been done, ever. There's not a kid that put the game away even at Alabama that could say they did something like that. I know it is what it is, but it's just a testament to the kind of kids we had.
No, Coach, while we're sharing.
I'll tell you what, David, I've had a lot of success on the high school level, but winning back-to-back conference championships on the collegiate level, it's unparalleled. The fact that we beat Tulsa the first year, and then Houston when we were 15 or 16 point underdogs, and we just kicked their ass in Dowdy Ficklen. And that's, like Mikey said, that's unparalleled. And it hadn't been done since the 70s when the Sonny Randall era. And but yet it hadn't been done since that. And a lot of credit is due to Mikey Golden. And the kids believed that they could do that. And our strength staff believed they could do that. And they just pushed them and pushed them and pushed them. And we beat Tulsa, and we came back and beat Houston in Greenville. And that's unparalleled in East Carolina history.
Guys, we have another one of your former players chiming in, Gary Freeman, offensive lineman. Big Gary. Big Gary said, Coach Golden is my hero. And then he also said, Coach Rob, throw the fade, baby.
Yeah, throw
it.
Big Freeman, but she must be blind.
Mikey, I think today is the anniversary or something like that. He's a minister now.
Yeah,
yes, he is in Maryland,
Big
right?
Free is.
Yeah, he did in fact, he did. We did
I'm so proud of him. So proud of him.
Hell, he's the one that tore a hole in his quad, didn't he? And didn't miss a game.
Wow.
I'm 99% sure it was him. He got hit in a practice funny or something. He literally had a hole in his quad and never Just kept on going. They coach, I'm playing, man. Never stopped. Never stopped.
Yeah. He was so glad. Gary Freeman was so glad to have Steve Shankweiler back after John Thompson 2 years, and he just couldn't wait. He just really could not wait to get Shank back. He did a great job.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Well, I mean, you know what kind of coach Shank is.
So proud of me. He look, Mikey, he's an ordained Gary's an ordained minister now, and that makes me so proud of him.
Maybe he can do an exorcism on your
and all of that.
We were talking about funny stories, obviously, with Ari about H-Rob, and we love him to death. I was going to say one thing before I'm going to ask you about another story, but I would love for the former coaches, if we can get you all together for a union, and maybe we could do like a roast on H-Rob. I think that Comedy Central would have nothing on you guys.
Oh, it would have to be at least 27 hours long.
No, Saturday night.
Everyone would have so much ammunition. It'd be unbelievable.
Nothing. You get Donnie Kirkpatrick in there, and Donnie can ad lib, and Mikey and Hud and all the
Rick
rest
Smith.
of them. You know, you ain't gonna get any better than that.
Never.
Rick Smith.
Never.
Yeah, Coach Golden. Talk about Rick Smith.
Oh, I mean, to me, he's Clint Eastwood. Just got that look on his face, the sunburned look, just always, just such a smart guy. Really just a good X's and O's guy. Did a great job with the players. And, again, just that staff was just, but I love Rick. I love his wife. I love his wife to death. It's just the caring. I don't know it's hard to put a word other than caring. Just how much the staff and everybody just cared about the players and how much the players really cared about the staff. I mean, it just was, but that's what Rick was. He was just a tough guy. And those kids knew now, those DBs, I mean, you stepped the wrong way, you were hearing it for an hour. You were in a drill and you did something wrong, he was on it. There was no letting up about any of that stuff. So just absolutely crazy.
Before
Gary
Dave
had
gets
a couple good comments,
you guys, Gary chimed in with a couple of comments saying that and then
I don't know, but your prayers must be working, Freeman, because that's a nice looking lady you got next to you. I don't know.
he outkicked his coverage.
Rick was the oldest man on the staff. Rick was the oldest man on the staff. He was a year older than I was.
Wow, I didn't know that one. He's is he 73 or 74 now?
Something like that.
He could be there right now, and I'd throw a kid
in. He should be 73. I know Mikey's going to say that. I'm old enough to. Mikey's going to tell you that I'm old enough to damn when rocks were on the ground. But
yeah, rocks are always on the ground here.
Crawling around, but that's.
I'll be honest with you. You had better donate your head to science because you're the reason they invented helmets.
And Mike,
all that non-wearing helmet stuff that really just wore your head out.
I want to pee on your grave.
You got more CTE than like every human combined, I think.
Wow. We might not have a show after that. But what a way to go.
How I know that Mikey loves me is when he calls me up and he says, "You old fart, I want you to go ahead and die so I can pee on your grave."
That's right.
That's how I know Mikey.
That's right. I got a gallon jug of water just waiting. When you kick the bucket, I'll be there. Trust me.
But Coach Golden, you like H-Rob's glasses, right?
Oh, I mean, I don't know what he is. His glasses are so thick, I'm telling you, he could burn down this International Space Station. If he took them off and pointed it with the sunbeams hitting it, the laser would literally cut it in half.
I have a question for you, Coach Golden. I've heard a rumor for many years about Coach, his days at ECU, and Can you help me with this story? I've heard that he likes to take a lot of naps in his office. Is that true?
Oh, well, every day at camp, when we had a break, and the kids would go in lunch, whatever, they had a couple hours, Harold would always fall asleep in his office. And me and my guys would get the hardest time. We'd be, Harold, get up. Harold, kids aren't sleeping. Why are you sleeping, Harold? What kind of shit? We're just getting on him. So finally one day we knew a guy who had a farm. He used to let us on his farm. Oh, am I, Harold? Do we need to call Big Nate or Yarden or any of those guys, Harold? Or the time we put the dead turkey in your office when you were on vacation and how bad it smelled when you got back? But so we had a farm down the road. They let us hunt on there. And one day we went out there and the guy said he had a bunch of duck, and we grabbed a live mallard and we took it, threw it in a box, took it, waited for Harold, fell asleep in his office. So we shut off the lights, put the duck on the ground, and shut his door. And we were, even Coach Holtz, we were all sitting outside his door. And all of a sudden you kind of hear Harold getting up. He's like, oh, why are the lights off? And he's stumbling around. And all of a sudden you hear wham, 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 wham. And the duck just takes off. He must have stepped on it. And it's trying to fly around. Harold has no idea in the world what's going on. And he's just having a complete heart. I mean, it was listening to it out there. I wish we could have recorded it.
He did that.
We would have 10 million views on that. We had to get that door open. Harold kept diving out. The duck came flying out.
Remember the time,
classic.
Mikey, you remember the time we saw those turkeys and then in the back of Daddy's farm? And I said, Mikey, what are those big birds? He said, shh, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. They're turkeys. And they flew out of the trees. I never seen a turkey in my life. And Dave and Mikey had seen one. And there was about 25 of them landed. And
then we went scouting with my daughter. Remember, Harold? Remember we took my daughter and we went scouting that day? How did she get over the thing, Harold?
And I remember you throwing her across the ditch. You threw her.
I did. I had to. We couldn't get her across. It was too deep to stand in.
You just picked her up and threw her.
She was tough.
Mikey used to always say, I'm going to put you in the washing machine, and then I'm going to put you in the dryer if you don't shut up.
Never know.
Hey, now, Coach Golden, you referenced Mike Yarton, of course, one of your assistant strength coaches and a former Pirate player himself. He chimes in. He said, "Who, us?" And I said, we would never.
They didn't do that?
Much better strength coach and player. I will give him that. He was, he did a great job, man. He was a mainstay for all those years, and his whole family. I mean, we ran that big strongman competition every summer, and his dad would literally drive down from Pennsylvania to be one of our timers every single year. And he'd be one of the timers for one of the competitions. His dad literally would drive down every single year that we had that competition just to be a timer. So his brother worked for me. His brother Matt worked for me. Just a great family, great bunch of guys, and just Pirates for life for sure, no doubt.
Coach, what was the strongest man competition? You did that. Was that a Greenville thing or something just inside the program?
No, it was something we did inside the program. We would do it every summer. And what we did, we split the team up into about 10 teams of 10 guys. And they were even. So let's say every team had 3 linemen, 3 mids, whatever. We'd split it up like 4 skill guys. And the players, we would give them the events. And then the players would, they had to pick, you could only do one event to get points for your team. And then obviously the points would be the first place team got 10, second place 9. And the players would have to coach each other, pick who was doing the thing. And we would just run through all the events. And the winners all the kids got T-shirts and they got nice plaques with, we had a special trophy made up. And they would take a picture with that trophy with all strength coaches and they all get a nice plaque with it. And second place got a pair of socks and third place got a mouthpiece. And it's something, the first year was it was fun, but it was whatever. And by the last year, I mean, it was like TV quality. I mean, we had reporters there and cameras, and we'd make a hype video for camp. Like we play it at camp with the kids doing that with like a movie theme or whatever. And it was just something we did with the program. And it was just a day for the kids to let loose and compete and have some fun. It was a really, really good time. And we had some kids really do some great things that really paid off, I think, in the end, just to get them, just for what they did.
That's really cool. I didn't know about that. I'm sure.
Hey, Mike, I never got to know that.
Yeah, what are you doing, jumping jacks? Are you doing jumping jacks, Harold? What are you doing over there?
Yeah, I thought you would have got me some one of those outfits, Mike. I didn't ever get one of those.
What, a jump rope?
Well, you didn't earn one. You didn't play. You didn't coach. You didn't do anything. How are you going to get?
Have you ever seen?
You know, there's no free ride at the Pirate Factory, Harold. No free rides at the Pirate Factory.
There, Coach, you were talking about being in Arkansas. Can you talk about after you left the ECU about your career?
Well, the kids were getting. I have 5 kids. I got an incredible wife. I got 5 unbelievable kids, and they were all getting older. And we had never lived near family. The whole time in our career, since the kids were born, we never were near family. Never grew up near family. And my wife's family's from Florida, just like Yarton lived in the Panhandle of Florida for a little bit. But her family lived in Florida. They moved there after we got married, and obviously it had a familiarity with Coach Holtz. And he kept offering me at the beginning. I'm like, nah. Like when he first left, I'm like, no. And then my wife and kids are like, listen, like we never lived near family. We could, like, my wife's her sister lived there, parents lived there. And it was one of those things where, like, well, we drag these kids around enough, so let's give them a little opportunity to live near family. And we went down there, did that. My dad got diagnosed with cancer up in Connecticut. So we're like, well, we got to get back up there. Somehow we have to get up there. And University of Massachusetts had an opening. I said, we're going. And we spent every free minute we could with my dad and my mom and all that. And then until my dad passed, fought it like a trooper, but didn't work. And after he passed away, my wife's like, and the kids and all of us were like, we're heading back down south. Like, I don't want any, literally the snow. And we're just like, nah, forget it. They just love the South way too much. I loved it way too much. And but it was a little different this time because we had to find the right fit because my kids in high school, and you had to find the right thing for the family. And this place just worked out to that way. And we get the greatest thing here is we get a huge discount on my kids going to school here. So I have 2 kids in college here right now. One of them's graduating next May, and the other one's a freshman right now. But the town is the right size where everything's like 5-10 minutes away. So it was kind of a family decision. We wanted to get down south, but we had to find the right fit, and that's what we did, and that's where we're at. So that's kind of what we did from there.
That's cool. How long have you been there?
I will fly that Jolly Roger as long as I live. I'll fly that flag for sure.
No quarter, right?
No quarter, none. But even that, I mean, our kids, they bought into that. I mean, that was the thing. Like when that came out and they approached us with that idea, we're like, heck yeah. We did the research. I mean, I remember my first week there. Me and my guys we drove all over North Carolina to learn about pirates. Like everywhere. Like we went to Bath where Blackbeard was from. We literally went all over and did as much research as we could and just fed off of that, which is the greatest mascot ever, but it's just fed off of the pirate lore of North Carolina. I mean, that's what we did. Like everything we did was literally the pirates. All our themes, all the things that we tried to do with the players was, hell, we're pirates. Let's go.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
We have some more former players chiming in. This time is guys that were specialists. Charlie Coggins, also Michael Barbour. Charlie Coggins says, "Hey, Mike Barbour, where do kickers go?" And then,
the hell, he's damn right. Yeah, kickers do not have fun with us. I'll be honest. They did not have fun with
Charlie
us,
Coggins,
unfortunately. But they.
I remember Michael Barbour.
Yeah, they've been about 5
good guys.
Remember Charlie?
Hell, you doing jumping jacks again?
Mikey, I ain't gonna do no damn jumping jack.
Then why does the camera keep moving? Is there an earthquake there? Like
hey, Mikey,
in Little Washington, is there an earthquake? I mean, what are we doing here? What just happened?
We had an earthquake recently in Bubba's neck of the woods.
Yeah, we did.
Let Mikey's big head hit the ground, and you'll have another earthquake.
Oh, here we go.
Big headed somebody. He got the biggest head, David, and that you ever seen.
I tell you, I don't think.
Harold, you look like a.
You couldn't get a hat to fit it.
It looked like an '80s freaking disco
hat, and take it back home because they wouldn't. Nobody could get a hat to fit him. And that right, Mikey?
That is right, Harold. That is right.
Oh my gosh, that's too much.
I'd bring him home to my daddy. I will say,
yeah, Harold, where did all those hats go? That's right to your daddy, didn't they?
Well, I gave them to daddy. Yeah,
he did. Everywhere I've ever been, Harold, I saved that hat.
Yeah, I got my hat. I got my hat lined up.
Oh my goodness!
I'll never forget that Hawaii Bowl. Mikey, we could sit up in the press box, you and I and the other guys, and look at and see Pearl Harbor.
Remember yes, we could. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Could see Pearl Harbor.
Well, we certainly want to have you guys back. We can. I know that my kids, I need to tuck them in tonight. I think they're asleep. Hopefully, I know. But you guys are tremendous. In fact, we were talking about Coach Golden. We were talking about with H-Rob that we'd love to get Coach Hud, you, certainly get maybe Shank and Donnie and Coach Smith and do a podcast because I think that would be fabulous.
No, I think it'd be great. I'd love to catch up with those guys.
I can do that. We can do that, David.
Yeah, Harold, where are you going to do it?
Yeah.
What'd you do now?
I talked with Donnie today, matter of fact, Dale. We got to keep Dale Steele in our prayers because Dale's had cancer surgery today. And he came out of it good. But Donnie and I talked today, but you know his wife Pam has not been allowed to see him, and he's invited in Greenville, but he'll stay there the next 6 days. But we need to keep Dale Steele in our prayers.
All right, we'll definitely do Pirate
Nation.
Harold. We'll send a prayer up for him for sure. Speaking of another great pirate for sure. All right, Coach Golden, what an honor to have you on. We've been talking about having you on for a long time. Thank you so much, and hopefully you won't be a stranger. Love to have you back on the podcast. You're tremendous. You need to host your own podcast.
Don't call it.
Would love to. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for bringing up the good days, for sure.
Nobody.
Harold, I hope you die.
Oh my goodness!
Love you, buddy. I'll still pee on your grave.
Okay. All right, H-Rob, Coach Robinson, thank you so much for everything. And Coach, again, thank you so much. It's been hilarious. This is the funniest podcast we've ever done in 2.5 years. It was a great ride. Thank you, Coach, and appreciate everything you did for all the Pirates, and love to have you back in Greenville. You know, you're a huge legend here.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, Coach. All right. It's great to have H-Rob and Coach Mike Golden. Sincerely, Coach Golden is tremendous. And, of course, H-Rob, I've known for well over half my life. I can't do the stats, Bub. I met him when I was like 12, and I'm 47 now. So a long, long time. Appreciate it. And we've got some, I know, some great content coming up. Bubba, we did an interview tonight that we'll put up on, I know you said YouTube and Facebook, with Coach Mac McCarthy. Coach Mac.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Mac for about a half an hour. Definitely check that out. Recorded that just prior to this at around 8 o'clock via Zoom, as you, I believe, mentioned. So we'll have that up either later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, and we'll promote that on Facebook and YouTube, all of our social media. Talked a number of things, the obvious being the book that he has coming out on Monday, September 7th. At least it's going to be available for pre-sale on his website. And so we'll put that information if you're interested. I can guarantee you, take a listen to this interview and other interviews with Mac McCarthy. The book's going to be tremendous, very entertaining. And, he coached Charles Barkley, coached Terrell Owens, and so many others. So definitely check that out. And then also 50 Pirates in 50 Days will continue on Friday evening. We will have Riley making a little cameo there. But,
Riley, what's up, brother?
No, tomorrow evening we'll catch up with George Kuntz, the East Carolina and Green Bay Packers great, and then also J.J. Millbrook, who played for the gentleman we visited with tonight.
No doubt about it. It's going to be fantastic. So thanks, folks, for everything that you do. Appreciate both of those coaches that mean the world to me and to Bubba and to Pirate Nation. All right. We have a lot of great content coming up, and we've had a lot of great stuff that's archived on Facebook Live and, of course, YouTube and anywhere you can hear this podcast and watch us as well. All right. Let's get out of here. Appreciate you guys for watching and listening. This is a Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.